Perfect. Welcome to Money Mama Talks. I'm here with Erin Darling Torralva. Is that correct?
Yes. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm half Mexican as well, so I have a good roll with the R's.
I was never able to get that.
No?
No, you're better than I am.
All right. Can you introduce yourself and just give a little background about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Erin. I'm a comedian and I'm a writer and actor, and I have a class called How to Find Your Voice in Comedy, and I have a podcast called Hot Pizza Ass, which is about body positivity and self-love and discovery.
Awesome. And how have you been handling work and life balance during the pandemic and the revolution in LA? How's everything been going?
Everything's been good. I mean, I feel really lucky to be safe and to be healthy. And, it's not without its challenges, but just trying to make the most of the situation and keep going because, we're all in this for quite some time, it seems.
Absolutely. Have you been still doing any stand-up or any Zoom shows, any auditions? How has work been, industry life?
Been really interesting because, there are certain things that have certainly slowed down, like actually filming things, but things are still getting done. There's still projects being put together. I'm still auditioning. My voiceover world hasn't changed that much. There's still voiceover stuff going on. And other than that, it's just kind of been the stand-up that's changed the most. Like live performance comedy has certainly taken a hit during this time. And I'm not a big fan of Zoom shows.
No. Did you try it and then you didn't like it, or you're just kind of saying no from the get-go?
Just kind of saying no. I actually canceled a show. I was supposed to be in Vegas to do a live streaming show. And again, like, it's just kind of like, I feel like it's high risk, low reward currently right now. Just because I think like I want to put my health and my safety first, and Zoom shows, I don't feel like the reason why anyone that's attracted to doing performance, like live performance, it's because you like performing live in front of people, and the Zoom experience isn't the same. Like it's still kind of like, okay, it's practice. You can still get a little bit of that hit if you really, really love just doing comedy in general. But I think it's important to just shift our mindsets a little bit. Like, why not spend this time writing, looking at your stand-up, like actually really trying to generate some awesome new material that you can be doing later, or looking at your existing material, throwing stuff away or editing, changing, expanding. And, that's kind of the reason why I started my class. Was I launched the class during the pandemic because I saw that there was a lack of opportunity for stage time. And that doesn't mean that we need to stop doing comedy. It's just, I think the way that we look at it has an ability to change right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what life is,
Yeah, absolutely. Were you living full-time from your creative work before the pandemic, or did you have a side hustle that was cut short by, or cut off or canceled? Did you have a side hustle that was canceled?
I didn't have a side hustle that was canceled at the time, but yeah, last year for sure I was working some jobs just to pay the bills. And that's the thing about being creative, is I think that we always have to be flexible. Like for me, I had a roommate that stole thousands of dollars from me, and I got in a car accident.
Oh my
and
God.
Right, and had a lot of expenses associated with that. And during that time, I was like, I don't want to put pressure on myself to be solely making money as a creative. It is important to have some sort of stability. So it's kind of interesting, like that you go through like these ebbs and flows being a creative.
Yeah.
It's been weird, but at the same time, like I'm really grateful that like right now I was actually in an okay place, like pre-pandemic, and now with the help of, unemployment and stuff like that, like many people have been able to just like sustain their lives. But
Yeah.
who knows what's going to happen at this point.
I know. Well, we have the election coming up, so we will see how that pans out. But talking about making your class, so Have you had success in running that workshop? What's your experience been moving into the online teaching space?
You know, it has been really great, to be honest. I'm so glad that I was able to do this and that I had the time to do it, because for a really long time, I had noticed that there was kind of like this big hole in the entertainment education market. Like the markup here on class and on getting better at your skill or mentorship is insane, especially in Los Angeles. And if you don't live in Los Angeles, good luck finding a good acting teacher. Good luck finding someone that can teach you how to do stand-up. And I've always been coming from the point of view that I honestly believe these things should be accessible for anyone that wants to try it, you know? Like,
Absolutely.
try it. This should be fun. This should be something you can try and not be like, oh man, now I'm $500 in the hole for it. So that's why I created my course, so that people could have the ability online to learn about stand-up, to actually start developing those skills and pay like $100 to do it. Like you and I know, like acting class or stand-up class in LA,
Yeah.
it's like so expensive.
It is.
And yeah, and I get it, I guess, but at the same time, I don't. Like, I don't think it's right.
It is. It's, yeah, we talked about this when I was on your podcast, that, we kind of grow up thinking that we're just not talented enough, or we don't have that special spark. But then you see the people who do really blow up, and, when their biography comes out, it's always like their mom had time to, take them to every audition, and was, a stay-at-home parent, or the child had access to, the best teachers and connections and all these things. Like, it's not that you're not talented. It's just that you don't have time and resources to become talented as quickly as the people you're comparing yourself to. So I think,
And something I loved about what you talked about when you were on Hot Pizza Ask podcast with me is that we talked about how there's kind of like this like wealth gap, right? And you don't really have the opportunity to develop skills, or maybe you don't have the time, or you're put in a position where you have to work to survive, to be able to afford the class, afford the headshots, afford the free time to even explore these things. And I want to that gap. Like, I want to be part of a movement that helps people to be able to pursue things and to have a creative life that's not going to make you go broke. And I know that you feel the same way. And Money Mama has been so great because it gives also people access to education, but it also gives people the opportunity to exchange their knowledge, for money.
exactly. And making the transaction of money from just person to person, instead of involving, the big schools with the big name, and the, the middleman sort of, that makes us feel okay about charging what we're worth, because somehow it's become like shameful or weird or awkward to be like, my time is worth, my knowledge is worth easily $100. I mean, and when you think about, how long it took you to make the course and do all of these things, it's like, okay, it's such a value when you're able to share it online, and you don't have to pay for the rent of that LA acting school and all of those things, because of course that's factored into it.
For sure.
Absolutely. So what have you been working on writing-wise during this time of sort of creative rest and work?
I have been writing some scripts. I've been writing some TV pilots, and I actually wrote 3 in quarantine, which has been,
wow.
Yeah, thank you. I've been
Great.
productive, and now I'm actually starting to pitch those shows, which has also been great. Something I wrote, got me a manager, which has been amazing. So yeah, it's just been this whole process of trying to get stuff done when it feels like, a whole different world right now. So there's a lot of challenges that come with it, but kind of like what I was saying in our IG live earlier, the one thing that we do have control over is our creativity. And And I think if we stop focusing on like making a sale or, filming something, like if we want to focus on writing, if we want to focus on, cultivating like a talent right now, we're learning a skill that will help us do the things that we ultimately want to do as performers, it's the perfect time to do it. So I don't think that people, although it is a frustrating time, we don't need to take our frustration into it. Like there are ways that we can shift and adapt and still be creative and still be productive during this time.
Absolutely. Did you feel affected work-wise by the BLM movement? Did it make you realize anything about your industry or your work, or reflect in any way?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I reflected a lot. I did a lot of self-education. I read books. I tried to acknowledge like the areas, like we all have blind spots. And I think the BLM movement helped a lot of people realize like, oh, wait a second. Like, am I doing a good job incorporating diversity in the projects I'm putting together? When I'm writing, am I writing diverse characters? Like, how am I really, like, we all have a bias that we come into the world with just per our view and the way that we grew up, right? So it's about combating that and trying to shift it. So yeah, for sure. I think that I've learned a lot during that period of time, and I've tried to find ways to support like, minority owned businesses, also women owned businesses, like it's just been a huge time of education and self-reflection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your experience been?
Yeah, I felt I launched Money Mama in the end of May, so it really coincided heavily with my very beginning of trying to curate people to host workshops, and it was a very eye-opening time for sure, and I think it was so lucky to be just starting right there, so you could see like what was happening with other companies and other pages, and how things were sort of imploding during this time. And at the same time, it also was hard because I didn't want to plug up, the social media space with my voice promoting this thing, which I hoped would be diverse. It was kind of just felt like, okay, I just launched, I should just take a seat back. And so I really didn't promote in June too much. In July, I started to get, feel a little better about getting back out there with what I had learned and processed. And yeah, so that spawned the idea of these Money Mama talks. And I think just taking it from there and talking to people and hearing perspectives has been already amazing. This is only the second one, but now I have a month of these booked out. And I think that'll, spread the word. Hopefully people will start to think about ways that they can create a workshop online or monetize their brand in a different way, hopefully. I want everybody to be, making workshops or makeup influencers, like put those tutorials on, not necessarily Money Mama, but anywhere, just put up a paywall, because we're seeing such amazing content being created and just not enough, not enough value given to the creator themselves. It's like, oh, this brand you have to wait until a brand tells you how much you're worth because of how many followers you have. Whereas I think a follower should just be able to be like, I have $10, for a tutorial, instead of, posting it on YouTube, like post it behind a paywall, put up the paywall.
Yeah. I mean,
My mamas love paywalls.
It's so smart because like we are getting so used to just giving away content and information for free. And then the consumer, the person that's watching this, is getting used to consuming it for free. And we're setting up this cycle that really doesn't benefit the creator. And that's what I love about your POV and the things that you're doing, because I think it's super important to be aware of that, like it's great that there's been this democratization of information out there, where I can learn how to do a makeup tutorial just by Googling or taking a YouTube search. But at the end of the day, like is that benefiting the person that took the 4 hours to shoot?
Edit and absolutely. How do
Right.
you use as a writer and comedian? How do you use your Patreon?
Oh, I use my Patreon kind of like I use it to fund my podcast. So I do digital photo sets once a month, and then I also do personalized essays that are kind of in line with the things I talk about on the podcast.
Right.
Sometimes I include discount codes, like if I partner with a brand that I like, I'll include that there. So if people want to purchase something, then they can go to my Patreon and get that discount code and things like that. Sometimes I'll do bonus episodes of the pod. It's just kind of a place to get more content if you like what I do, if you like podcasts, or if you just want to support me as an artist. Like, it's the best way to do it in terms of me and what I've been doing. You know, if you don't want to buy my course, but you like Erin Darling Torralva, like, go to my Patreon and support me for like $10, you know?
Yeah, exactly. In the great scheme of things, it's really like 15 cents a day, I think, or 30 cents a day. It's something so small if you appreciate somebody's work to to support them on a platform like if they have a workshop, if they have a course, if they have a Patreon, if they have an OnlyFans, whatever it is, it's really, if you break it down, it's really not very expensive. And yeah, it's what happened to music. We all used to buy CDs, and then downloading came, and then we got in trouble for that, and then Spotify came, and music is having a really hard time right now. I mean, I guess in the same way that comedy is, where there aren't events happening.
Oh,
So
yeah.
everything's having to happen online.
Right.
Have
Like
you,
the community too. It's like so many people.
yeah. Have you seen what trends have you seen in sort of the online comedy to make up for the loss of events? We
Well,
know
for
you don't
sure.
like Zoom calls. There's Zoom comedy. Yeah.
I'm not personally not a big fan of the Zoom shows, but Zoom shows are a thing right now. So if you, as a consumer, want to watch someone do comedy, like, there are a bunch of those. And then I feel like at the beginning, there was this big wave of IG Live. Everyone was going live like all the time. I was too. I did it like every day.
I'm riding the late wave. Yeah.
So there was just, people are live streaming more and kind of like branching out into that. And, of course, podcasts. If you love a comedian and they have a podcast, that's also a great way to support them, to get more content, to kind of, and as a comedian, if you want to reach your audience more and you like Zoom shows, you can start a podcast.
Yeah. How do you go about getting like sponsorship for your podcast or promoting it? Like, do you invest a lot in promoting it yourself as well?
I don't. What I do is I normally look for brands that I can partner with. Like for my launch party, for example, I had a very small budget, but I was able to work with Pizza Red and with Jim Beam and in a local bar as well. Like, I was able to partner with all of these people, which was incredible, which, ends up covering the cost of, per se, like a launch party. But, for long-term partnerships, I think that it's totally something that, it makes sense right now because it's one of the few things that people can actually try to monetize. I don't have anyone doing any of that for me. I do it all individually. And what I do is I focus on the content, really. Like, I don't spend a lot of money on advertising. I just try to make sure that the people that I bring in are episodes that people want to listen to, whether they're, a celebrity or an influencer, or if they are just someone that has like an awesome story or information that they can share, So I focus more on the content than I do about the money right now. But like, eventually at some point, I'm sure that will shift and I'll be like, okay, now I'm ready to like really like get some money for this. But I think there's no shame in developing something for a bit.
Yeah.
And I think also people get so caught up in the money really early, like, and I think if you're in it for that reason, you're probably not in it for the right reason. Like just wait for a little bit when you're developing something long term, make it right, make sure that it's good, find your voice, and then go for it, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me see. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh, this was one. Do you ever feel imposter syndrome? Do you ever feel like, oh, well, God, I don't know, like, am I really funny? Am I really a great writer? Am I really anything?
All the time I feel imposter syndrome, but you know what I think is helpful for me at least? Sometimes I look at people that have done things or had success on a large level and I'm like, they're really not that different than me, you know, like they really haven't been doing it for much longer than I have. I watch their content and it's not spectacular. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
that that's like a good way to look at it. It's not like looking at it negatively, but it's looking at like, hey, if they can do it, like I certainly can,
Yeah.
you know? So I think it's like kind of looking at people that have done something and that's similar to you, that have had success and using them as like an expansive viewpoint, you know?
Absolutely. Okay, and final tips, questions. Do you have any tips for people who are interested in getting into comedy while things are kind of slow, comedy or podcasting or acting? Give us your best tips.
I would say, I mean, while things are slow, this is such a great time to experiment. You know, if there's something that you wanted to try or something you wanted to learn or something like you have the time most likely. I know a lot of people are working, but if you're not working and you're like, man, I wanted to learn more about this and I just never thought I'd have the free time, like take advantage of the free time right now, you know? Like you can take my class, you can take a workshop on Money Mama, you can take anything right now.
Yes, I want a version of some kind of comedy thing from you that is on Money Mama that you don't have to like update all the time. You can just make one thing and post it for one price and just have it exist there.
Oh yeah, maybe I can do that. Maybe I'll,
Yeah.
I'll figure out like a small version of the class to put there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That would be great. Awesome.
yeah, totally.
Thank you so much, and also for dealing with my technical difficulties. You saved the day. I am going to be editing these, and then they will be available on the Money Mama website.
Amazing. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.